Box Cutter Emporium. From a Walk in the Park, Book 1 of the Stephanie Beroe Chronicles, Chapter 3. Finger depressing the speakerphone, Miles Venery rises out of his chair. The hand he sees in front of him looks disturbingly like his father's, weathered and aged. Crossing the room, the view of the Empire State Building looking south, banded by the East River, captivates his thoughts of sabotage. Am I too old to play this game, he asks. Competition, the cornerstone of capitalism and ever-driving force, has rarely been his foe. Looking downtown from the Hammer Industries headquarters, on the 65th floor of the Chrysler Building, Miles is reminded of the competition between three previous millionaires in 1928 to build the tallest skyscraper in the world, the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, and the Bank of Manhattan Trust on Wall Street. The principals were architects and financiers, innovators at a turning point in U.S. history. But Walter P. Chrysler, he took competition to a whole new level. A friend of his grandfather's at the time, Walter Chrysler, was obsessed with building and had confided in Miles's grandfather the plans he and his architect, William Van Allen, fashioned to secretly outbuild Van Allen's former partner and architect for the Manhattan Trust Building, H. Craig Severance. They secretly delivered and assembled the crown of the Chrysler Building inside the top floor, then hoisted it up and riveted it in absolute secrecy in place. Their merits overshot the Manhattan Trust Bank, which had been 2 feet taller, by over a startling 100 feet, heralding the Chrysler Building into history as the world's tallest skyscraper. Miles still hears his father's voice retelling the story, a man who rarely showed emotion and consumed with excitement as he claimed that year the Yankees, led by Babe Ruth, won the world pennant for a historical 2 years in a row. The world was watching New York, Miles. He loved this story as a child, sitting in this very same office he now occupies, begging him to retell it almost daily, his father's exhilaration matching his own. While he recounted every detail of the secret plan, Miles was hooked, allured by the deviant prestige bestowed upon the prevailer. Today, as he looks down over the 65th floor of the Chrysler's architectural giant, he's reminded the building was designed and modeled after the Chrysler automobiles that bear the same hood ornament as the eagle gargoyles stationed at each quarter of the building. By continuing to compete with rivaling innovators, Chrysler was also pushed to create and install air temp, consequently making Chrysler Building the first fully air-conditioned skyscraper in the world. A landmark for eternity and a curious little-known fact, but a substantial economic strive for Chrysler, ensuring his legacy. 3 sets of eyes watch intently from across the room, waiting for a sign or mood or decision, following him back to the Art Deco desk his forefathers commanded before him. Known for practicality and Anglophilic reserve, Miles, like his father, has never tended towards impulsiveness. At 72, his trim physique and strong jaw counteract a well-maintained head of gray hair. Unfolding his hands from under his chin, staring in his own reverie to a silent room, he thinks to himself, is it someone in this room? His silence frightens them. Anne Mallory, his assistant, a tall, lithe, dark-haired, Irish-hearted woman with fiendishly squared-off fingernails, has been with him for more than 20 years. We couldn't be closer if we were married, he thinks to himself. In fact, I spend more time with her than I do my own wife. David Dixon, Hammer's chief operations officer, a towering man, in his late 50s, has had a tough year, losing his eldest son to cancer, but he's held fast in 15 years and has not wavered. Elizabeth, the vice president of Hammer, is, after all, his daughter. His instincts assure him it's not anyone in this room. Do we have anything on this editorial? Miles breaks the silence with controlled agitation, turning his deep-set eyes on the group. Father, I've been digging. Elizabeth begins in her eager, rapid fashion. I've talked with each reporter from both rags. They won't divulge a thing. Well, if only the New York Times and Newsweek were rags, we wouldn't be having this conversation, he reminds her. Shall I book you out for your meeting with the Beroes? Yes, Anne, I would prefer something roomy on the seaside, at the Casa del Camino where we're going to meet. The stylish, late 60-something, well-bred woman nods, picks up her device, and silently coordinates the private jet and accommodations. All right, David, what do you really think about all of this? Miles asks, staring into David's creased face. Seated on the arm of the sofa lounge across from him, Miles notes the qualities of his good friend and colleague, a natural with people. David's relaxed, almost laissez-faire personality disarms with a sense of familiarity. David's eyes, always issuing calm in the stormiest of seas, confirms he's a natural leader. But Miles can't help notice his shoulders are hunched. Helplessly watching his child die has left its mark. David is not the same man he was last year, more withdrawn now and visibly pained. Honestly, Miles, I don't think it came from inside. When you really dissect this article, it doesn't read from any employee I know. We just don't think that way. That is precisely what I was thinking. I would like a list of the top 5 companies you would suspect. Who can we put on this full time? You mean who have we pissed off lately? Elizabeth interjects. Miles nods. Yeah, today corporate competition is a worrisome but necessary evil. I have the right man for the job, David adds. Knowing he would. There's never been a job too small, too big, or too tasteless, Miles remembers with uneasiness. Father, what are you going to say to the Beroes? I don't think I need to say anything. He sits back in his chair. I believe I just need to hold their hands. Isn't that a Beatles song? Anyway, Elizabeth, have you ever known me to be at a loss for words? Well, thanks for being with me. Nighttime readings. I will continue to read from my novels of the Stephanie Beroe series, one chapter at a time. I hope you can spend that time with me.